G'day everyone and welcome back to another video on the channel, and today I'll be going through my 2021 AFL Grand Final predictions as well as going over a bit of a preview ahead of this week's clash between the Bulldogs and the Demons. Now these have probably been the best two teams in the comp all year, particularly in the first half of the season where I'm pretty sure both sides finished, were 9-1 at round 10 ahead of the clash between the D's and the Dogs. And we all know what happened in that game. The D's got the job done. The D's did finish first on the ladder this season, and they did for a reason. I mean, they've definitely been the best team in the comp this year, that's for sure. They've only lost to one team this year, which was actually Collingwood. So they've beaten every side in the top 8 at least once. And their only loss against the top 6 side was, funnily enough, the Western Bulldogs, who they are playing, obviously, in the grand final. And then obviously in the finals, they cruised their way through the finals. They beat the Lions by 5 goals and absolutely dominated the Cats by 12 goals. And the D's, they just look like a complete team. They've got a perfect combination of superstars as well as role players to just get the job done week on week. Whereas the Dogs, you know, we all know they had that slump after the round 11 loss against the D's. Did you guys know that they actually finished off the season after round 11 or round 10, 6-6? So they started off the season 9-1, they finished 6-6. We all know what happened in the last 3 games. They lost to the Bombers, they lost to the Hawks, and they lost to the Power. They just messed up a golden opportunity of making the top 4. They finished 5th, obviously. They've obviously now put that past them after beating the Bombers in the finals, the Lions, and then absolutely smashing the Power to make their second grand final in 6 years. I just do not understand how the Dogs managed to do that against the Power. I thought they were going to have a very, very little chance of getting it done against the Power. Home fans, you know, you'd think everything will be on the Power side. They had the week break. They looked amazing against the Cats, but they just did not show up. The Dogs were clinical. Bailey Smith, I think, kicked 4 goals after kicking 3 the week before in the semi. So yeah, it is quite remarkable how the Dogs have done it, not just in 2021, but in 2016, making the grand final from outside the top 4. Now, this is the 3rd time this season where the two sides have faced off, with there being a very even record of 1-1. The D's, obviously, in round 11 were way too classy. They really didn't allow the Dogs to get anything going up forward, with their defense being solid as a rock and their pressure obviously being elite. But in the second outing, it was the Dogs who did prevail. They won the game by 20 points, led by Bontempelli and McRae. They were outstanding. And you could argue that the D's weren't in the game after the first quarter. I think the first quarter, the D's were actually in front. But then, really, since then, the D's were playing catch-up footy. The Dogs just took control of that game. So I reckon in this game, the grand final, the game's most likely going to be won in the middle. I'd arguably say that the two sides facing off have probably the 2 best midfields in the comp, or 2 of the best midfields in the comp. Definitely the Dogs have the best midfield of the comp with all their plays. Last week against the Cats, the D's scored 101 points from clearances, which was actually the 4th biggest in history, which is, quite remarkable. The fact that they got that done in a preliminary final. But yeah, you'd think the D's win the hitouts in this game. Gawn's going to be facing Steph Martin. Obviously, Gawn, the much better ruckman, all-Australian ruckman. But games that Steph Martin has played in with the Dogs, I'm pretty sure they've won the clearance count or a stat like that by like 10 more or something like that. So definitely, with Steph Martin playing, the Dogs are going to have a greater advantage. But I feel like the D should win the ruck tap with Gawn. But obviously the midfield, the Dogs had the likes of Bontempelli, McRae, Smith, Treloar, and Liberatore, who actually leads the comp in clearances. I think Liberatore is on 182 at the moment, and Oliver's on 181. So it's going to be a very, very entertaining battle in the middle between the two. Probably the 2 best midfields in the comp. Now, obviously, we do know that the D's strength is in their defense. They've obviously got all-Australian caliber players in Lever and May, but then they also have stars in Christian Salem, and even the lesser-known players like Jake Bowie. I think he's only played like 6 or so games, but he's fit into the team remarkably. So really, if the Dogs want to win this game, they've got to get clean ball movement out of the middle into the forward line. If they can't do that, the D's are just going to mop it up. They're going to control the footy from defense into the forward line, and they probably should win the game. If the D's continue playing like they have been in the last 7 or 8 weeks, it's going to be quite tough to see the Dogs winning this game. But the Dogs, as I mentioned before, the only side in the top 6 who have beaten the D, so they can get it done, but obviously it's going to be very tough for that to happen. Now, we'll quickly go over the last 5 games between the two sides. The Dogs are 3-2 in the last 5 games with an average winning margin of 27 points. And since 2015, the average winning margin is 41 points. Considering that the last 4 games between these two sides hasn't seen a side score over 100, And due to the fact that both sides have actually yet to concede 100 the whole year, I'm expecting this game to be a fairly low-scoring battle. Like, I don't see this one being high-scoring at all, considering that the two sides, they're going to go at it. It's never high-scoring in the grand final anyway, so I'm expecting a low-scoring, intense contest. However, the weather in Perth, I'm pretty sure it's 25 degrees. It might be sunny, so it's going to be clear. It's going to be good weather, so it could potentially suit for a bit of an attacking game. Overall, I can definitely see either side winning this game. The D's have to be going into this game favourites. I know, the Dogs smashed the Power by over 70 points, but the D's have just been a better side this year. They haven't put a foot wrong, really, since, when was their last loss? I think their last loss was actually against the Dogs. So they've pretty much played a perfect footy ever since that loss against the D's. So obviously the D's are in insane form, but also the Dogs. They've won their last 3 games and they've all been in finals. So yeah, anyone's game. Last time the Dogs are in this position, they won the flag from the elimination final. So they definitely have the hunger in them to get the job done. But also the D's, I feel like they probably should have a little bit more hunger, considering that this is a chance to break a 57-year premiership drought. Typically teams who are heading into grand finals, who are on the verge of breaking a big premiership drought, usually get the job done, like the Dogs in 2016 and Richmond in 2017. I just feel like the D's, based on that stat, should win the game. But yeah, I'm going to predict in this game that the D's win it by 17 points in a fairly tight, low-scoring contest, as I said earlier. I feel like the D's will break out to a 3 or 4 goal lead early in the second quarter. And I guess from there, just take control of the game. I don't really see them. If they get to a lead by 3 or 4 goals in let's just say the first, second quarter, I don't really see them dropping. I don't think they've really dropped a massive lead at all this year. And yeah, they'll, in my prediction, win their first flag in 57 years to put the longest premiership drought now onto the Saints. So hopefully the Dogs win it. The D's win it, the Saints can win it over the next 10 years. And my score predictions, I'll go 64-81. Doesn't really matter the score predictions, but as I said earlier, fairly low scoring, fairly tight contest. But yeah, it should be a pretty good grand final. Definitely should be better than the Richmond grand finals and the Hawthorn grand finals as of late. For my first goal scorer, I'll go Ben Brown. He's actually been alright as of late. Like, he's fitted into the side very well. And I think, I don't know, I'm just saying this out of my ass, but I'm pretty sure he's kicked the first goal in a few games. So if he kicks the first goals, he'll get the D's up and going early. And for Norm Smith medalist, I'm going to go Max Gawn. I believe he's the X-Factor player on the ground. And historically against the Bulldogs, Oliver doesn't really play that well against the Dogs. So that's why I'm going to go Gawn. I reckon if Gawn has anywhere near the game that he played against the Cats last week, I reckon definitely Norm Smith there. But obviously, I do want this grand final to be a close one as a neutral. I think every man and their dog wants a close grand final because, we just don't see enough classic grand finals. Like, the only good grand final since 2012, which you could say was a good grand final, was 2018. Obviously, that was a very good grand final where Sheed kicked the winning goal, but we just haven't seen very great grand finals as of late. They've all just been smashings, which, as a neutral, I don't want that to happen. And I will be streaming the game, so I definitely don't want this to be happening. You know my curse with streaming finals this year. I haven't streamed a close one, but yeah, I will be streaming the granny this year on the channel. So if you want to check it out, feel free to do so. I'll probably start at around 6 PM or something like that. So tune in to the stream. And quickly on to my tipping comp. We've got three people on 146. So intense stuff. We've got Christian 215, 146, 752 total. Shelv 146, 767 total, and Geordie Sco 146, 793 total. So we'll have to wait until I guess after the grand final for me to go over the tipping comp winners for my tipping comp, and the winner does get a $100 prize. I'll probably go over them when I react to my final season predictions, which will be sometime next week. But yeah, that is it for the video. Hopefully you guys did enjoy it. Leave your comments down below for your grand final predictions, your Norm Smith, all that sort of stuff. I'll definitely look at that. But yeah, appreciate everyone for watching, and I will see you guys soon in my next one.